Foundation on Culture of the Arts, Art in Public Places collection. And our featured presenter is Karen Ewald. Hi, Karen. Welcome. And
Hello.
the director of the Art in Public Places program and the Hawaiʻi State Art Museum. So my name's Annie Reynolds, and I'm the curator of the East West Center Gallery. And I'm happy to welcome you all on behalf of our team. I'm joined here with Eric Chang, Arts Program Coordinator, and Navahine Lanzalati, who is our Arts Assistant. So happy to have you all here this afternoon. So today's program is featured in conjunction with our current East West Center Gallery exhibition, which is called Beyond the Surface, that features our own permanent collection works. And so in doing that, we wanted to invite and provide a platform for other organizations in our community to talk about their collections as well. So our gallery happens to still be closed to the public, but while it's closed to the public, we do have a virtual gallery, a photo gallery of the current exhibition, which we will share with you. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Karen to speak about the collection. And if you have any questions as we're going, you are welcome to put any questions into the chat, and there will be a Q&A after the presentation today. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you, East West Center, for having me. I'm really glad I'm here. I'm going to now share my screen. Does everybody see
that?
this?
Looks perfect. We can see it. Yeah.
Great.
If you just want to go to slideshow.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I've thought long and hard about what to focus on for the for this presentation, and decided that the best thing to do is just do a good, hard, general overview of the Art in Public Places program. So I'm going to talk about basically the overview of the program, the unique nature of the program. It's definitely, the collection, I should say, is definitely different than many other collections. The conservation of the collection, which can be quite challenging, and the Hawaiʻi State Art Museum. And then finally, at the end, I'm going to talk about the future, which is what we're always striving to work towards at the State Foundation. So who we are is the Hawaiʻi State Arts Agency. We are the Hawaiʻi State Arts Agency, the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts. The Art in Public Places program is a program within the state agency, and we actually hold about 71 or 2% of the budget within the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts. So it's a very large portion. With that, we have 12 full-time staff, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, but a lot of contractors. And we also we're dealing with over 7,000 works of art. And that means that's not just relocatable works of art, but that's the site-specific ones. And for me, I'm the director of the program and the Hawaiʻi State Art Museum. I've been at SFCA for 7 years now, almost 7 years. And I did come from Los Angeles, and I worked 9 years at the Los Angeles Natural History Museum. And I did mostly programs, large scale events and programs. And I managed the volunteer force there as well. One thing that I really focus on for this job is, I did focus on a lot in the last 4 years for this job, is to streamline operations and focus on employee health and just the health of the agency itself and how employees are working with each other. So I really focused on personnel, so that when I was able to make sure that the employees felt empowered and the operations were running smoothly, they can administer the artness of everything. It's still a work in progress, but I think that we're doing a pretty good job. So a general overview: Hawaii was the first state in the nation to establish a percent for art law. 1% of cost for construction or renovation of state buildings is set aside for the purchase of works of art. And I'll talk about the major programs later, but those are the big major ones within that program. but the big thing was that we were the first state to do this. And we had great forward-thinking legislators in the 60s that saw state buildings being constructed and nature being displaced, and the architecture itself was fairly brutalist. So the intention was to put beauty back into those places, man-made beauty like works of art. The big thing about this program is, in the beginning, the funds were just set aside for whatever building was producing the 1%. So if there was a school being built, the works of art coming, the money coming from that would have to be used to art specifically for that site, which was very limiting. And we're all about access, and they were back then too. So what they decided to do was do the construction renovation funds, the special fund. And this freed up the money to be spent throughout the state to places in need. So it expanded upon the provisions of the Art and State Building Law, and we were able to have all works of art in all state buildings that wanted it or that we deemed appropriate for it. So it's pretty cool. So we do a lot, the Art in Public Places program. We do a lot, but in a nutshell, we acquire and commission works of art. And I'll go into that in the future part. We, not only that, but we're trying to branch out into temporary works of art and ephemeral works of art as well. And we manage this massive collection, and to ensure accountability and accessibility. So we try to rotate as much of that collection as possible. And then also on top of that is the unique Hawaiʻi State Art Museum that we have, that within its limits, we try to have as much fun there as we can, I guess. So this, I want to just show this. This is a really cool image. This is Mahiole by Sean Brown. That was actually commissioned a while ago, a few decades ago, off to, and now it is off to the side of the airport near the offices. But because the new areas of the Kona airport were being built, they decided to move the Mahiole into the front and center. And it was amazing to see. So I think this is a great example of what the objectives were, where it enhances the environmental quality of public state buildings. It cultivates the public awareness and understanding. I mean, even all of these gentlemen who are working on moving this Mahiole felt a sense of, I don't know, awareness of it that they hadn't before. They were telling Sean Brown. And then it supports and promotes and recognizes excellence of the state's diverse cultural, creative, and traditional artists. So, so yeah, we really want to, we try more and more all the time to make sure that the works of art are reflective of the people that view them. So the people making the art are indicative of Hawaii itself, the vast multiculturalness of Hawaii. And so we really try to make sure that this art gets out and is seen and is interpreted as much as possible. That's what we try to do. But like I said in the little subtitle of my presentation, it does take a lot of grit and determination, because there is a lot of state checks and balances that happen. Like what I'm just going to talk about, the nature of the collection. So a lot of the issues that come up with managing the Art in Public Places collection are the state rules. They're very limiting. There's a lot of red tape. There's layers of bureaucracy. And our whole mission is to provide access and to be to provide as much interpretation of the works as possible to as many people as possible throughout the state, and to include as many people as we can. But we hit a lot of walls. So what I know, what we've been with our employees and with just ourselves as an agency, the best thing to do is to just keep going and don't give up. And go within the rules, but there is a way. So, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, so we manage a lot of works of art throughout the state. And then even running the Hawaiʻi State Art Museum is unlike running the Honolulu Museum of Art, say. There are a lot more permissions needed to do anything in that museum. And we want the museum to be a space of interaction and sharing. So in acquisition, that's where we're actually finding, well, we always knew, but we're really addressing the limitations in acquisition. We find it to be exclusionary in construct. So trying to break down those exclusions that were built up just because of the nature of the state and how it was constructed can be challenging. So that's kind of the big mission that we're kind of driving towards, is to open up the accessibility for us to acquire more works of art from more groups that haven't actually been able to get to us. So the first thing is commission works of art. For those who do not know, those are the works of art that are site specific. They can be relocated though, and they sometimes have to be, but they're really meant to be in the location where they make sense. They're of place with that location. This is Kazuka Inana's work of art in Molokai at Kualapu'u Conversion Charter School. And that was a really great dedication ceremony. I don't talk about it anymore in this, but at the end we have dedication ceremonies, and if the artist is working with the school comes out and blesses the work of art, and also congratulates the artist. So that was really fun. So that means we go all over the state. And when we get to Molokai and Lanai, that's when we feel like we're really getting out there, which is great. So commission works of art, as with everything, it's a community-based decision-making. So we do an art advisory committee so backing up, once a building or a site says that they would like a work of art, there's a whole process of approvals and paperwork and letters back and forth to each other. But when that happens and when it's budgeted, we form an art advisory committee, which is various stakeholders from the community and from that facility who come together and decide on the concept, the symbolism, what kind of work of art they want. Do they want it two-dimensional, three-dimensional? Everything they decide on. We do not. We just help facilitate that. And it's a really kind of Herculean effort when it comes to actually getting people from the community to get together, which is the easy part, but then also just being able to take their recommendations to the state to say, this is what they want, this is how it's going to happen, and getting those approvals. So when it is actually up and also working with the artists too, sometimes the artists don't even have that experience yet. So, they're walking through it with us, trying to understand how to do this right and well. So when it does happen and it is up, then we have great celebrations. Here's another dedication ceremony. Patrick Ching's Kamakani Lehua at Lehua Elementary School. And this was interesting too, because Patrick, well, my boss told me this, John, that Patrick is a painter, but he wanted to do something bigger and grander and more durable and he wanted to have a commission work of art with the State Foundation. So this is ceramic, and I believe it was his first time doing this, and it turned out really well. Yeah, so this is kind of repeating what I just said, but the agency facilitates the process and decisions. So we're the ones who call the meetings, get everybody together, try to with a group of up to 10 people, try to understand, and based on consensus decisions, find out what they want and how they want it and who they want. And then we go to the board for approvals, and we have to go through procurement and all that stuff. But it's actually a really fun process. And yeah, this is Makavalu Vortex by Jerry Vasconcelos at JABSM. And that is actually representing one's personal, I'm totally simplifying this, but one's personal fight with battling cancer. It's a really amazing piece. And this one I just really like. We just had this too. Solomon Enos as well. He did, I believe this is mosaic, stone mosaic, but he just dedicated his work at Castle High School. And it's really great to see the artists have this complete work and have this connection to the facility, and just be more embedded in the community. And it's just, I love it. So that's commissioned works of art in a nutshell. Relocatable works of art. This is the even bigger load of work that we have, I should say. This is some of the exhibits team. There's Nate and Z, and there's Ellie, our curator. They are displayed on a rotational basis in the state, and we even loan them out as well. So it's a constant rotating, installing, deinstalling that happens. So it's about 6,000 something works of art. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact number, but we did just do a call for entry for artists to submit their works for their time during COVID, their experiences during COVID. So an art acquisition selection committee was brought together to choose those works of art. And so we will have a lot more now too. And I roll my eyes because it's just like, there's so much, and we don't store it. Like we have very little in storage. So they're just constantly moving. We are constantly moving it. So kind of the same line as the art advisory committee for commission works of art, the acquisition selection committee is the one for commission works of art goes over the span of like sometimes up to a year or two. This one is the day of, and we prep them ahead of time. We gather a group together of our visual arts consultants, prep them ahead of time of what the exhibit is. They can do their research ahead, and then they come that day, and art is selected for purchase, for recommendation for purchase. There's Ellie in the center getting everybody ready to go work at, I think that's First Hawaiian Bank. Anyway, so so this one is also a lot of paperwork, but the committee does get together, they adjudicate, a few are selected. Then the curator, Ellie, she contacts the gallery or the individual artist, however it works out with these shows, and gets the artwork shipped to us. The artwork is still not purchased by us yet, but it needs to be shipped to ensure that's in good shape. And also before COVID, now we do it online, but before COVID, it was actually brought into the boardroom during the board meetings for the commissioners to look at. So after the presentation to the board approves, the board very much approves much of the time. And then Ellie gets down to notifying the artists and getting visual arts paperwork and getting that art to us. And it is now the property of the state. And it takes a lot of procurement. Notice my theme here. I really like this picture. This is Jack's Bench by Fred Ruster, I believe. And we're putting it back in the sculpture garden after renovation. Anyway, so we don't only move smaller 2-dimensional or smaller 3-dimensional and 2-dimensional works of art. We do larger ones too, heavier ones. And we aim for every 4 to 7 years. The reason why I say aim is because we were supposed to go to Kauai to do the big rotation on Kauai, and we had some procurement snags. So we had to backtrack, fix all of that, then go forward, and then COVID happened, right? So sometimes these things it's not as easy to just get the art in a plane and go, but we do try to do a neighbor island rotation every year. So they're always busy. They're always running around. They're wonderful. So yeah, the distribution process, we do have, I said we don't have a lot in storage with an exclamation point, because that does seem to be a thing that with the legislature, sometimes there's a little fascination with the thought that we have a lot in storage, but we don't. And we have one distribution center that we just put the art to rotate through. And then we also have artwork on site at the Hawaiʻi State Art Museum that is constantly rotating through. So it's never really sitting around, which is great. It's awesome, especially the more recent purchases, because that's the most recent survey of what art in Hawaii is, contemporary art in Hawaii is, and it's good to get it out there to educate the public. And this is just kind of a general overview, as you can see, of how much art is where. And as you can see, Oahu is heavy in the works of art, and Lanai is not so much. And I was talking with my boss, John, about getting more works of art out there, but I'll talk about this a little later, but his initiative, which I'm really on board with, is just getting more arts education out there, and getting more understanding and knowledge of creativity in the arts on out to the neighbor islands, and making partnerships, forming partnerships there that they can help us get that out. So yeah. Okay, so this is a weird one, because I I wanted to learn more about the Rocky Jensen sculpture, Ke'ea Ekolu Oke Kanaka. It's currently at the Hawaiʻi State Art Museum, but Annie brought up that it was on loan, or it was at the East West Center at one point. And I did ask the elders over at SFCA like what they know of it, and there really wasn't. They just assumed that it was probably a loan to the East West Center, and that makes sense, because we do loans we don't loan works of art to private places unless it's a museum that is having a show, like the Honolulu Museum of Art, or well, that's our main our main group of people that we speak to. Sometimes I think even the bishop had a loan from us, but with federally funded places, we will loan works of art to, which East West Center applies to. Also, as you can see, there's Senator Hirono, and she and Senator Schatz and Representative Case and Kaihahele, they have all I think Kahele is on the way, but they've selected works of art for their offices in DC. So it's a really nice crossing. And the funny thing is, Maisie really liked crazy, abstract, wild art, and shots like the very traditional landscapes, which we thought would be opposite. I don't know why. It's pretty funny. Okay, so next thing, conservation. This is a big chunk of what we do at in the APP program. The unfortunate part is it's one person on staff to do it, and Derek Irwin, and he's fantastic. But he has a budget and he gets out there, and the one thing that he does is he contracts out to conserve the works of art. So as you can imagine, the works of art in Hawaii can get, as with anywhere, but especially in Hawaii because of the nature of the weather here and the land, it can get, it needs help. They need attention. So what we do is we try to, we do prioritize safety and health first, and then we go down from there. So it's always, I'm sad sometimes because I wish that we can hit them faster, all of the works of art, but we don't have the ability to do it all at once. But last year, Derek did hire a crew from Los Angeles, Rosa Lowinger, and they did all of the bronze maintenance, and I believe even helped with a few from the city and county as well, which was really great. But yeah, so it's a statewide effort. It does have its challenges. The big thing about it is when buildings, state buildings, especially we're finding schools, they have new things that need to be built, and they have to move a permanent work of art like as soon as possible. So that's the other part of conservation, is being able to protect the work of art by moving it out of the way before construction happens. And that is out of our control, the construction part, but it's always like, it's very fast moving. We're a very fast moving group of people for state workers, I have to say. And yes, as I said earlier, environmental impacts, a lot of bronze works needing help a lot of the time. You know, when we commission for a large scale work of art, we ensure as much as we can that it is sound and will last. But with the weather, sometimes it's difficult. And the scale, you know, these are large scale works of art. Those are the ones that Derek, the conservation coordinator, typically works on. But we do have relocatable works that we put into rotation to conserve. Thankfully, it hasn't been too much, because we do lecture the folks that we loan the works of art to and all the state buildings to take care of the work. So that's a good thing. Oh yeah, so these are just the two things that stuck out to me. We help with the King Kamehameha Celebration Commission. We help their with all of their King Kamehameha statue monuments. We are able to work with them, transfer money to them to help right before King Kamehameha Day to make sure that he is beautiful and ready to go for the parades. And that's on all of the islands. The one that we're currently trying to work on is Hilo, which I think we're just kind of running into paperwork and state stuff again, but we really want to work on all of the King Kamehameha sculptures. And then the other one that kind of I thought was really fun was Derek was working on the Krypton by Bruce Hopper. And as you can see on the left, that's how I remembered it when I first started working here only 7 years ago. But I think it had been kind of has not much attention had been paid to it. And I know that they took away the sounds and the vibration of the work of art. But when Derek started working on it and finding a way to paint it in its original form, and maybe even put the sound back in, I believe it was the physics department that got really interested, and they wanted to help, and they were helping him with it. And it was a good community effort. It was a good stakeholder effort. So, and look how beautiful it is now. I think it's better than it was, that's for sure. It's still very strange, but. So Hawaiʻi State Art Museum, that is the one that we've been working on pretty heavily for the last 3 years. Unfortunately, during COVID, we had to kind of really tamper back. As you can see, this picture kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies with the current situation. But we wanted to make this, Hawaiʻi State Art Museum had always been a little light in attendance, which was fine. Our first Fridays were light in attendance. Everything was kind of, there wasn't a lot of attention paid to it. And I thought that there could be more, and the space could be used for more interaction, more collaboration, more sharing of art. So we're making this a gathering space. We do still have the 4 galleries. 2 major ones are the Diamond Head Gallery. If you haven't been, please visit. It's open. We are open right now. The Diamond Head Gallery, and the Diamond Head Gallery holds scholastics exhibits, as well as one that I'll show you fairly soon. The Eva Gallery has in Hawaii exhibit, and that's mainly used for our Bento program. And we have the sculpture lobby. That's where Rocky Jensen's work is currently. And then we never forget the sculpture garden, because that is a gallery, essentially a gallery. And there they are installing work in the Eva Gallery. Our public programs are always free, and they always will be. We wanted to have a more fulfilling experience than just visiting a gallery. So we've been having, pre-COVID, we've been having events for young children, for young adults, for all ages, for anybody and everybody. The one thing that we do run into with our building, just physically, is access. It's hard. It's really hard for people who have disabilities. It's hard for people to just find us sometimes. So by having more exposure out there, I'm hoping that people will want to come. And then it's my responsibility, our responsibility, to make sure it's as accessible as possible. So that's the future. For a state-run program museum, we are pretty experimental in our programming. I did hire a contractor, that Ali Ishikuni. She just knows a lot of the up and coming art scene, and different new ways of filmmaking, fashion, music, performing arts, ephemeral art. She just was able to help me bring those people to the Hawaiʻi State Art Museum, and it has been really great. Yeah, so that was a show from October during Pride Month, and it was the drag show from Scarlet Lounge. So that was really fun, very busy. So this is the thing that we're striving to do more of. This was an exhibit that just opened about a year ago, actually, or less than a year ago, My Ho'ohuli I Kalima I Kaluna. And what we did was, Ellie is the Art and Public Places curator, but we wanted the curators, and Ellie also wanted to have people from the outside come in and curate our collection. So in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is be more inclusive, and also more I say self-reflective, but more self-critical. Like, how can we help people who don't think that we're helping them, So Drew Broderick, Kaili Chen, and Kapolani Landgraf did come. They took works of art from our collection, mostly Kanaka artists, but some not. And they really looked at the ways that Hawaiian artists, I'm summarizing very lightly here, but how Hawaiian artists felt excluded and still feel excluded from our acquisition process. That's really simplifying it, but it was good. And we wanted to kind of continue that conversation and keep it going, and also keep asking people, like, what can we do more for the community? So we're trying. But anyway, it's a beautiful exhibit. It's still up, and it will be up probably through the rest of the year. So this is a list of artists. Sorry, I didn't really list them very well on this, but down below, and this is a display case of, we have a display case downstairs on the first floor, and Hana Yoshihara did the backdrop mural. And then we had some Herb Kane paintings in there that we rotate through. That was the vision of Drew Kapu and Kaili. And then arts and education, that's a big push for us. We really want to focus on that, and we really want to make sure that education is the big initiative for the State Foundation, actually, not just Art in Public Places program. And out of that is artists in the schools. So that's the art, they receive residency grants where artistic teaching partners come to work with the teachers and children on and incorporate arts into core curriculum. And then Art Bento, that's the, I thought it was 3-part, but this is 4-part, so sorry. But anyway, the multi-part program where the teaching artists go to the schools, initiate the learning, and then have the children come to the museum. And more. This is actually, I just like this. It's the legislators art class that we have in preparation for Art at the Capitol, an event that Senator Taniguchi initiates every year. But we try to engage the legislators in arts education, and they come and they enjoy themselves. And it's a good way to just connect with them and make sure that they're understanding what we do, and any questions they have are being asked, or are being answered, I should say. I have John handle that part. And then, yeah, the future. So this is the big thing. This is kind of the rounding out of it. We are, and I'm focused, this is HiSam. This is a HiSam event right now here on this screen, but we're really focusing an APP to be more inclusionary and more accessible. We're looking at the Hawaiʻi State Art Museum specifically as a place that maybe can be more of a gathering space and a hub, with galleries, obviously, where we can maybe have artists come and collaborate and share and critique and, you know, and make and all of that stuff. We do have our limitations. We can't sell works of art, you know, we have limitations on what we can show, but we think that we can make ourselves a little more accessible for creatives. And yeah, this is just a few of the things that we were doing in the past, having artists do demonstrations, workshops on poetry. That's not what it is, but you know, like performing arts kind of workshops, trying to get the public to come and learn from the people that we bring to them. And and we want to be a friendly face. We don't want to be the state people behind the desk waiting for people to come to us. And we want to make intentional partnerships. And it does take a deep keel. That's what I've been hearing a lot. It takes a deep keel. But if we just stay determined and tenacious, we're already seeing some good changes, and we have a long way to go. But I think that we're better off than when I saw us when we started. Not to say that was me, but but yeah. Okay, that's it. I hope did I talk too much? No, I didn't. Thank you very much. And you can email me if you wish to follow up. Thank you.
This is an incredible program, and thank you for so openly sharing so much about the program, all that you and your team do. It's really incredible the amount that comes out of your organization. But really, I learned so much about the organization and the work that you all are doing. There are a few questions already, and we do have time as people have questions that come up. But let me go through the chat first to get us started with the questions.
Great.
Michelle,
I hope I can answer them.
Wanted to go ahead and ask your own question, or otherwise I can go ahead and read it from the chat. But I can go ahead and read it. So there's an earlier question from Michelle. Oh, okay, sorry. And it says, how does working in non-durable media get matched with projects and fabricators to recreate their commissioned works in appropriately durable media? Do the artists find the matches themselves, or does the committee direct the connections? I think this came up when you were first talking about some of the commissions.
Right. Sorry, could you say it again one more time?
How do artists working in non-durable media get matched with projects and fabricators to recreate their commissioned works in appropriately durable media? That's the first part.
That's a good question. Thanks, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. We have the knowledge on being able to transfer, to walk an artist through, say, a painter to some like ceramic tile. We do have the tools for an artist and the connections for the artist to do that. So what we do, we don't kind of just commission the artist and say, okay, here you go, you're on your own, like figure it out. We'll actually, we find it kind of exciting, and we'll help walk that artist through the process. And it can be kind of scary for the artist because they've never done it like to that scale before. But like May Izumi just did Mr. Chicken Pants in the sculpture garden, and she was used to small scale works of art, sculptures. And it was John that convinced her to do Mr. Chicken Pants, the big guy. And yeah, it was a pretty crazy, freaky experience for her. But we make sure that they are successful and that we don't just leave them. Does that make sense?
The second part of that question, I think you answered earlier, but maybe just following up. Do the artists find the matches themselves, or does the committee direct the connections? If you want to just...
SFCA directs the connections, yeah. Because usually most of the time the committee doesn't really know either. We're just trying to teach the committee too about art, but SFCA does that.
Great.
Yeah.
Eric was just mentioning that Rocky Jensen's piece, yeah, it was displayed here at the East West Center for 15 years, and it was just at the beginning of the lockdown was when your team came over to move it for the current exhibition.
What? Oh my God. Okay. So I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was really great. I mean, they were amazing. They did great work, came over here, you know, they knew just what they were doing. And
Yeah.
So it's so lovely to see it at High Sam now. So we were
Thanks,
happy
Eric.
to have it back at any time, but again, happy to see it also over at High Sam as well.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring it on back to you guys after.
And then another question here was from the work of art that's at University of Hawaii for Krypton. The question is, did they restore the sound?
They did restore the sound. And I think that it's on, I think it was on like a constant loop before, and it was really driving people crazy, so they shut it down. Now it's on a timed thing that the physics department folks run, or they're in control of. So we're excited about it. I don't know about the vibration though. I think it was supposed to vibrate, but we were like, let's not do that.
We might have to put a warning out there.
Yeah. We're like, well, we want it to be safe. So
And then I have a note here that we'd like to have comments from Laura Ruby. So if you want to unmute yourself, Laura,
I'll mute myself.
share.
Okay. Can you hear me?
It's a little bit of an echo for some reason.
I don't know. It might be okay now.
Still echoing.
Okay.
For some reason, I see two of you on the screen, so I'm wondering if that's possibly what's causing it. Now I can't hear you.
I don't know. I see two people as well, Laura.
Me too.
Well, Laura did put some text in the chat, and we could maybe just read those comments at least. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. I just saw that. Great. So from Laura, it says, in the past, the artists were left to fend on their own to find a structural engineer and to find appropriate companies to fabricate the commission. So that's just a comment on that. So if you would like to respond.
That was before my time, from what I understand. So, yeah. Okay. I mean, that happens. It does happen. So it's frustrating, I'm sure, for artists.
And okay, sorry. Let's see. Sorry that Laura's having trouble with her sound. And
I know.
Okay, I'm gonna go to.
Okay, I'm trying again.
We're still getting a really strong echo.
The 1% is still the artist.
Can you put your question into the chat?
Yeah, I could answer that way.
And I'm going to go from the end backwards. Junlook had a question about what's the situation for funding for 2022?
For the Art in Public Places program, oh gosh, how do I explain this? We usually get about, from the 1%, about 5 million a year. And so I spend that on art and artists, right? I mean, say payroll and other expenses. But we've had a snafu with, it's really complicated and I won't get really heavy into it, but we're supposed to be receiving those funds and those funds are being held for us. But because of the way that the budget bill was written, we're not getting that money right now. So we're starting to look at the future, the fiscal year 22, and streamline a little bit until we get that money. So it may be a little different this year, but we're going to continue to prioritize. Well, our main prioritization is education in the schools and also acquisition of individual artists. And then once we get the funding in, it was a BNF, it's state stuff, but once we get that funding in, we'll start pushing forward with everything else. That's a good question because it's been a different year this year. And that's not because of COVID either.
Okay. And does it go to the artists including budgeting for administration costs as well?
Yes, yeah. But like really a lot of our operational administrative costs come out of general fund, which isn't even that much, to be honest, compared to how much we push out to the state. And we're really trying to, or it's artists in the state, and we're really trying to do that as much as we can, especially during this time when people are really having their struggles from the pandemic. So Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And then I'm just trying to go through these and stay on the same conversation, but Laura just commented that 1% is to the artist, but it must include tax clearance, appropriate payments, and all the incidentals such as landscaping around the work. So thank you so much for that, Laura.
Very true. Yeah.
And yeah, and then
it's a state procurement. You know, very true, Laura. When we contract an artist, when the state contracts an artist still needs to be compliant. They still need to have all of their tax documents cleared. It's a lot of paperwork for them too. Yeah.
And then there's another question here. At one time, the acquisitions program there was hesitant to purchase works of art that weren't permanent, such as kappa or soft sculptures. Is this still the case? Or was there some criticism that only artists in specific media were being supported by the SFCA?
Yeah, yes. And it's been a journey, I think, because we have a collections management policy manual, and that's how it's kind of the book that we adhere to. And it was created in, I believe, the 80s. I'm not totally sure about this, but it was created a while ago. And yes, they were hesitant to do anything that didn't last the life of a bond fund. So anything under 30 years was like deemed not appropriate for the collection. But we, in the last 4 years, changed the collection management policy manual to say that works of art that don't last the lifetime, if they still meet the criteria of a really good, strong piece that's indicative of the contemporary art in Hawaii, we have ways to acquire it. If it's kappa, it's way more permanent than, say, ephemeral art or temporary installation, but we still were able to put in our collections management policy that we can acquire temporary art, temporary installation, and commission that. We would just need to use trust fund money, not 1%. And that's a whole other question to the comptroller. He approves it. He's very supportive, but at least we have the ways to do that now. So I do think that's why I was saying it's a little exclusionary in construct, because we are finding, after especially the My Ho'ohuli exhibit, we found that the way that it was constructed was to be only fine art, and not craft art, or not art that doesn't meet the criteria of painting or sculpture. So in that sense, indigenous people were left out, or other cultures were left out. And we're saying, wait, that wasn't a good idea. That's not a good idea now. So we're proud of that, although we have a long way to go. So.
No, I understand. And any collection that is so diverse, you have such interesting considerations in terms of categories, where you have to fit things into categories where they maybe don't so naturally fit or feel so derived or constructed. So I can really appreciate that. And I just wanted to also comment that I love the idea of the current exhibition and having somebody from outside of the organization come in and curate your collection. And I love that idea, because it's a new way of seeing your own collection and learning so much about the collection and the way somebody else would interpret it. So I think that's just such an incredible idea. And it's a beautiful exhibition. So I've really
enjoyed. Oh, good. I'm glad you saw it. Yeah, it's
I've been with my daughter a few times, and we really always discover something new when we're there. Karen has shared a video with me. It's about a 5-minute video. So I wanted to make sure we got time to share this at the end. So I think now would be a good time to do that.
Thanks, everybody.
Did you want to say anything about the video?
Oh yeah, I should set it up. Yes, this is one that we just made because we couldn't do a Scholastics. I didn't really talk much about the Scholastics Awards, but the Young Artists and Scholastics, we couldn't really do it in person. So we created this video, and we thought this is actually a good way to show how much we care about arts education and young people getting involved in the arts.
Thank you.
The Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, more than the competition aspect of it, it's really important that we provide a platform for students to showcase their talents, their creativity, and to give them voice. And I think it's more important that we have this platform where we can collectively look at students' perspective and their stories and like their creation. It's a way to celebrate art and our students at the same time.
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe you would just have to.
It's a good size for it.
I like the size of it. That's good.
Yeah.
What the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts does, what Hawaiʻi State Art Museum does, is when the show is adjudicated, when the pieces are selected, we're able to put these young artists' work up in an actual museum gallery show, which is great. It's kind of a stepping off point to become a professional artist in their future careers. This year's show is very dramatic. I see a lot of works of art that are answering to what the world has gone through in the past year.
Going through historical events like COVID and all these social justice issues, like painting, stuff like that is a big deal. It's a way of talking about things, starting conversations about things, and share that expression or how you feel about things.
The pandemic gave me time to get back in touch with my art. I had time available again and I could really focus on my work and get back in touch to making art every day.
It's really impressive. It's really impressive to see how they've responded to such a different shift in life.
While I do art, it really feels like time is going like super fast, and like I'll start in the morning and I'll look up and it's like nighttime, so it's definitely like good for me. I definitely think that art is like similar to like a book, where a lot of people use it to tell stories or like express themselves.
With students' way of expressing themselves, like they get to inspire other people, and that itself, like the ability to tell a story, it connects all of us.
It's just magical. Like I think it's like really magical that everybody can like interpret it differently, but then like it can mean something to them.
Art is so much a part of our lives that we're so proud to be a government arts agency to be able to provide the people of Hawaii and beyond with opportunities to express themselves.
My art is in a museum. It's amazing and like unreal, and I feel so honored. You know, I never thought like my art or would ever be in a museum. It's like a really big deal to me. I'm amazed.
I feel like when people see art, they can be inspired to make a difference in the world. And with my art in the museum alongside so many other talented students, other people can be inspired to create art as well and make a difference in the world.
Thanks, Annie.
Yeah. It's incredible. They're so talented. There's so much talent in that exhibition.
Wow.
Can't wait to see
Yeah. Lantana, get excited.
so much, Karen, for taking time and sharing all of this with us today. It's incredible. I learned so much about all that you're doing over there. And thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon for all the great questions. And just wanted to let you know that our next program is scheduled for May 23rd. Our next Spotlight program is going to be on the art and artists of Palau. And so we'll be sharing more information about that program coming up next month. And we hope to see you then. Mahalo. See you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate for staying.
Thank you.
Mahalo.